Hey everybody, Lenny here, and today we're going to be looking at Pyramid Head, probably one of the most iconic people or characters to ever come out of Silent Hill, and the basic lore and theories involved with him. So, first thing that we're going to clarify with this is that this video is mainly going to be pertaining to details about his motives and a little bit about who he might be, as opposed to within the overall lore of Silent Hill, as that can get a lot more interpretative, subjective, and complex. There's an excellently done video by Rocks about the gods of Silent Hill that does an excellent explanation about where he fits within the mythology of Silent Hill, and I highly recommend that you check it out. He's done a lot of research and he did a very good job explaining the place of Pyramid Head and Valtiel within the overall lore and mythology of the world. The first thing we have to establish is, what is Pyramid Head supposed to be? Well, in most ways, based on what we know about Silent Hill, people interpret Pyramid Head to be either a punisher or some form of masculinity, at least in terms of what it means to James. If you compare him to the rest of the monsters within Silent Hill 2, he's the only one who seems overly masculine as compared to the rather feminine look of most of the other monsters within the game. And he's also the most aggressive out of all of them, because even though some other monsters will attack you on sight, most of them will ignore you under most circumstances if you run away or you turn off your light. Pyramid Head is the only one who will either go out of his way to chase and attack you, supposedly, but he's also one of the few that cannot ever die under any circumstance from your control. Later in the game, you can actually see that the only way for him to be officially defeated is via suicide. And now this can be interpreted in many ways, because the first time I played the game, my interpretation was the idea of, this guy is so disgusted with my attempts to try and kill him that he'd rather just kill himself than watch me attempt to do so. But if we look at Pyramid Head's actions in a different way, what it can be interpreted as in general can be very different from the regular ideas and opinions of it. Most of the time, people see him as a sort of punishing figure or someone meant to represent his pain, because everything he does supposedly leads to negative consequences or negative emotions, such as killing Maria multiple times, trying to kill him multiple times, and generally blocking the path or creating bad situations while being unable to be conquered. However, I want you to think about the various ways that Pyramid Head actually interacts with you. One of the first times that you actually get a look at him is when he's on the other side of a grate in the middle of a hallway. You see him through the bars and he's just standing there looking at you while not actually doing anything, which is scary, but it doesn't seem to actually try to attack or move. He's just observing. From the scene after that, you see that he is assaulting or raping other monsters within the building, and James, terrified, hides in the closet and shoots at him, and thus Pyramid Head shrugs it off and walks away. Now this could be seen as a very intimidating scene, in that what you just saw it do, you think it might try to do to James, or just might be very intimidating if this is a thing so powerful that it can take on the other monsters without hassle. But think of it this way, it's possible that he was attacking those monsters because they are a threat to James. And the fact that James shoots Pyramid Head and he decides to leave rather than retaliate would imply a lack of malicious intent. Following this, you then have a boss battle in the same building, where you're trapped in a relatively small stairwell that's been flooded. And he will attack you if you get close. But the one thing that should be taken of note is that after a few short moments of him attacking you or trying to attack you, he will then stop doing whatever it is that he was doing to walk down the stairs, and this will unflood the basement and allow you to proceed forward. And that's actually the thing. You are unable to proceed through the game unless you go through this exact path. So what does that mean? It means that Pyramid Head was opening up the way for you. It might not seem like that because he was attacking you this whole time, but it's also a matter of he didn't need to do that. Since it's shown that he can never actually be killed, he could have just kept going and going and going until you run out of health packs and you die. But instead he just decides to stop fighting you after a certain amount of damage or a certain amount of time in order to open the way forward so that you can proceed. Following this, the next encounter that you have with Pyramid Head is when he pushes you off of the roof. Now, again, this definitely, at first glance, appears to be very malicious intent. I mean, you push someone off of a roof and, well, in any case, they would die. But James doesn't die. And in fact, because of this event, this is also the only way to proceed, because every other door or entrance either leads to a dead end or a locked door and doesn't allow you to make any more progress within the game. So this is a second instance of Pyramid Head allowing you to progress forward. On the level of his actions, he is literally opening the door for you, but doing it in ways that make it seem as if he has murderous intent. Following this, you then see him chasing you down the hallway when you and Maria are trying to get out of the hospital. But something of note here. Notice that he doesn't actually do anything to kill James in this segment. He kills Maria. And mind you, Pyramid Head could have easily still gotten to James since the elevator door was still open, and he could have rammed his sword inside, opened the door, and just killed James right there. But instead he just kills Maria right there and then lets James go. And this is interesting because later game content, depending on the ending that you get, shows that Maria is evil or supposed to be somewhat of a malicious manifestation towards James. So if we have this in mind, we can interpret that Pyramid Head was not trying to kill both of you, but he was trying to protect you and save you from Maria. He's trying to keep you on the path of you trying to save your wife. And this is especially important because one of the endings actually has you leaving the town with Maria and forgetting about Mary entirely. That means that Pyramid Head is trying to keep you on your path or try and keep you focused on your mission rather than be distracted by anything else or anything that might cause you harm. He even later supposedly locks her up inside of a prison cell and then proceeds to roam around the area right in front of her cell. And mind you, he wasn't chasing after you when you do this, he just goes in a complete circle until you actually approach him. So this means that he was never actually hunting you down, but in this case, he's trying to prevent you from getting back to Maria. And even in this case, when you later go about the game and get towards the end segments, he finally kills her again. And all of his actions in these scenes imply that they are protecting you from Maria and not actively trying to kill you. And then we have the final boss fight where you fight two Pyramid Heads at the same time, holding spears. And the interesting thing to note is that once again they cannot be killed, but after a certain amount of time, they kill themselves. And this scene can be symbolic depending on your interpretation. The way that it can be looked at in this case is, after a certain amount of damage, they look at you and they determine that you are strong enough to stand on your own and handle any threats that may come to you, since you're able to willingly take on these two immortal creatures. And when they do that, what they do is they use their spears to prop themselves up while they're committing suicide. And symbolically, this could mean that you're able to stand on your own, the fact that you're able to actually support yourself, and that you do not need them to protect you anymore. When you later go further down the path that they were blocking and you beat the game, you realize that this is true because depending on your ending, you confront Maria or Mary, and you are able to defeat them since, well, you beat the game, meaning that going up against them was their way of proving to themselves that you are independent of them from that point forward, and your victory can be achieved, which it's not really that difficult of a boss fight unless you have it on the hardest possible setting, so you can handle it. But it's an interesting thing to note that one of the most iconic and intimidating monsters in this game is one that has actually been trying to help you the entire time, but the presentation of him is so well delivered from a horror sense that you assume he's been trying to kill you or hinder you the entire way. And I'd say the fact that people for a very long time had interpreted him purely as a villain is a testament to the quality of writing and design and horror aspects that this game delivers. You'll never find another game like this out there, and without having to resort to twists that are laid out in front of you as plain as can be, this is probably one of the best and most subtle ways to present a non-villain within a story, while not having to sacrifice any notable elements of design. That's what I got for now. Next week, we're not going to be looking at Silent Hill, but we will have something else in store. A nice little surprise for everybody. See you next time.